Remember me, my name is Miss Sarah. I'm a prevention educator here at SCAZA. We are going to talk about decision making today. But before we do that, let's do a little bit of review regarding what we talked about last week. We talked about goals, right? So remember, what are goals? Goals are decisions we make, right, to achieve something in the near future. So goals have to do with decision making. We make a decision to work towards something, right? So that's why we're going to be talking about decision making today, because decision making relates to our goals. We have to decide what we want in our future, right? So I hope that you guys have reached some of your short-term goals that we talked about. Remember, short-term are goals that can be achieved quickly, whether in a few hours or a few days or perhaps maybe a few weeks. Goals um, can be achieved quickly when they're short term. When they're long term, it takes months or years to achieve them, okay? So I hope that you guys have achieved them, those short term goals. If not, keep working towards them and go ahead and set some more short term goals to help you achieve those long term goals as well. So think about that for a moment. What does it mean to make a decision? Or in other words, what is a decision? So go ahead and think about that for a moment. What is a decision? We make decisions all the time, right? Sometimes we make decisions without even thinking. But most of the time, we need to do certain steps before we make decisions, okay? So a decision is the act of making up a person's mind. So you decide between this option or that option, right? So this way or that way. So there's always options when you make decisions, okay? So again, we make decisions all the time. So how many of you have already made decisions today? Raise your hand. We all have, right? We make decisions every single day. Sometimes we don't even realize we're making a decision. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to make a decision right now, and I'm going to tell you guys a joke because I feel like we need to have a little bit of fun, okay? So I am making the decision to tell you guys a joke, okay? And it's your decision whether or not you're going to listen to the joke or not, right? Okay, so here's the joke. Why do we never tell jokes about pizza? Think about that for a minute. So, why do we never tell jokes about pizza? I like this joke a lot. Okay, give me a few minutes to think about it. Why do we never tell jokes about pizza? The answer is they're too cheesy. I think that's great. That just put a smile on my face. I hope you guys enjoyed that joke. If there's time, maybe I'll make the decision to tell another joke. Okay, so we make decisions all the time, every single day, all the time. We decided to come to school today, right? We decided to brush our teeth, brush our hair, get dressed. Okay, these are all decisions we make every single day. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to play a game. Okay, so how to play the game, okay? The decision requires more thought. I want you to tap your head with your finger like this, okay? Like you're thinking, okay? The decision that you could make quickly, I want you to snap once, okay? So, a decision that requires more thought, tap your head, okay? A decision that you can make quickly, I want you to snap, okay? So let me give you an example. Um, let's see here. So your friend says, hey, Bobby, let me copy your homework because I never had a chance to do it. Okay, is that a quick decision? But what if your friend says, oh, but I really need it, and you're my best friend, and you won't be my friend if you don't let me do this. And you don't want to lose your friend, right? So that might take some thought, right? But you know right from wrong that that's cheating, right? So but you're torn because you don't want to lose your friend, but you also want to make the responsible decision, right? So that might require a little more thought, right? But now let's see here. Um, say you're at Stewart's and you want ice cream and you're not sure if you want chocolate, vanilla, or strawberry. That can be a quick decision. Does that make sense? Okay, good. So we will begin our game in just a few moments. Okay, so remember, if I say a decision that requires more thought, I want you to tap your head with your finger, okay, like you're thinking. If I call out an easy decision that you can make quickly, I want you to snap your fingers once, okay? All right, so let's begin. You must decide what to have for breakfast. I should hear snaps, right? Because that's a quick decision. You must decide if you are going to repeat a rumor you heard about your best friend. Okay, let's think about this, right? That's probably not the best decision, right? Okay, because that's going to hurt our friends' feelings. And then they're going to be upset with us. Okay, next one. You must decide whether or not to do your homework. Okay, so let's think about this for a minute. If we don't do our homework, we're probably going to get a 0, right? And that's not good. That's going to impact our grade. Let's do a few more for the decision game. So you must decide if you're going to tell your parents the truth, even though you might get in trouble. Right, we might want to think about this, right? Because we don't want to get in trouble, but it's always good and responsible to tell the truth, right? So that's where we're going to stop and think about our possible consequences. Okay? You must decide what to do on the weekend. That might require a more thought too, okay? Or it might not. You might have 2 options and you might want to choose the baseball game instead of hanging out with your friends at home. So that might go both ways. You might be able to think about that a little more, or you might be able to make a quick decision on what to do during the weekend. You must decide if you're going to cheat on a test because you didn't study for it. Okay. So let's stop and think, right? We know cheating is not good, okay? And we're going to get in trouble if we get caught, right? Our teacher wants to know what we think, not what our neighbor thinks, okay? So in this situation, we should really stop and think about our consequences, whether they're positive or negative. All right, you must decide what to have for dessert. Everybody should be snapping, right? Because that is a quick decision that we can make. Okay? You must decide who to invite to your party. That's another quick decision, right? We usually invite people who we care about and who we love and who we want to be there, right? We usually don't have to really think too much on who we want to celebrate our birthday with. Okay, so very good. Did you notice that some of you thought a particular decision was a big decision and others thought the same decision was no big deal? Right, so we all see decisions differently. Some of them might be more difficult for some of us and some of them might be easier for us, okay? So we all look at decisions differently and that is okay. Each time we make a decision, we have to figure out what the best choice of action will be. Kind of like we did when we broke down those more difficult decisions in the game that we just played. The more difficult or bigger the decision is for you, the more time you may need to think things through. Okay, so if you have time, there will be an electronic copy of page 5 of your workbook, and it's called Amazing, okay, because it's a maze, and you're going to go through the maze, and it's going to give you these steps in order to make a decision. So that's what that's going to help you do. It's going to help you learn the steps to make good decisions. So when you do this, if you do have time to print out the electronic copy, as you find your way through the maze, you will discover the steps to making good decisions, okay? The steps are placed in order along the path from start to finish. If you find a word along a path that comes to a dead end, this word is not one of the steps to making a good decision. Choose only the words that are on the open path from start to finish. As you find them, write the steps in order on the lines provided in the section titled Decision Making Steps. Okay, so that's if you have time, but let's review the steps together. All right, so the first step is to stop, okay? Don't do anything. If you act too quickly, you might make a bad decision or you might be disappointed with the one that you made. How many of you have made a decision too quickly before? I have, right? Did it turn out well or did it turn out badly? Okay, you may have experienced negative consequences. So let's talk about a consequence. Consequence is the result of an action you take. Okay? Consequences can be positive as well. For example, if you practice your lines for the play, you are more likely to do well and feel confident. Doing well and feeling confident would be a positive consequence of the decision to practice. Okay, so now let's talk about the second step. Let's think about and picture a positive outcome. Okay, so this is where we're going to think about our different options and what the outcomes are. Okay, and then think about what you can do to reach the positive outcome. Ask yourself, what options do I have? You also want to think about positive and negative consequences of each of those options. Okay, so the next step is to act. Now that you've stopped and thought about the options and the consequences, you're going to act and do what's best for you. Not what's best for your friend, not what's best for your brother, what's best for you. Okay, it's time to act out the best plan. Okay, now it's time to reflect. Evaluate how you did. So what this means is we're going to look back on how well we did or what could we do differently next time. So if we made a mistake, let's take note of that so we don't do it again, right? We all make mistakes and that is okay. We just need to learn from them, okay? So reflect is where you're looking back to see how well you did or what you can do to improve that next time, okay? So again, if you have the workbook printout, that's great. If not, you can just go ahead and follow along. So we are going to help Jackson through the decision-making process. Okay, Jackson is having a birthday party next month. He is talking with his mom about whom to invite to the party. He definitely wants all of his friends from his Cub Scout troop to attend. His mom says that's a good idea, Jackson. Make sure you invite Randall as well. Randall is a boy in the troop who is shy and keeps to himself. Jackson doesn't know Randall well and isn't sure about inviting him to the party. Jackson has a decision to make. Jackson followed the steps to good decision making. The steps he took are on your workbook page, okay? So, and they're not going to be up here, but just make sure you're listening, okay? And we'll just go through this together, okay? So, let's go through the steps and let's put them in the proper order, okay? So we're going to label them 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, so let me read all of them first, okay? So these are the action steps he took. Okay, the first one says, after considering his options, Jackson made the decision to invite Randall to the party. He made the party invitations and handed them out at the next Cub Scout meeting. Okay, that's the first one, but they're not in order, so we have to put them in order. Jackson knew this was a difficult decision that required some thought, so he stopped and took a minute before thinking about what to do. That seems like the first step. All right, so now let's read the 2 other actions Jackson took. After his party, Jackson said to himself, I made the right decision and I am happy that I included Randall. I feel good, my mom is proud of my decision, and everyone made a new friend. That seems like Jackson is reflecting, doesn't he? Okay. Jackson pictured in his mind what the best possible outcome would be. He thought about his options and then listed the positive and negative consequences of each. That sounds like the think step, okay? So let's go back here. So the first one, after considering his options, Jackson made the decision to invite Randall, okay? That is where he acted, right? So he made the decision. So the first one is actually the third step. So he acted, right? Okay? And then the next one, Jackson knew this was a difficult decision that required some thought. This is where he stopped and took a moment. So that's the first step. So it goes 3, 1, and then the next one is where Jackson reflected, right? So that is the fourth step. And then the last one is the second step. This is where he thought about the outcomes. So it sounds like Jackson made the right decision and is really happy about the outcome. We have learned there are steps we can take to help us make those bigger or more difficult decisions. So now we're going to think it through. Okay. So let's take a closer look at the second step in the decision-making process. What do we want to think about before we make a decision? Right, we want to think about a positive outcome. Ask yourself what you really want to have happen. How will the decision affect you? How will it affect others? Once you have thought of your positive outcome, consider all of your options. Once you have thought about your options, list all of the consequences. Okay, so let's help a girl named Isabel think through this second step. On Friday night, Isabel's friend Jackie called to invite her to go water skiing the next day with her family. Isabel already had plans to go to the community cleanup event with other friends on the same day. Isabel has to choose one of the activities. So Isabel's options are go to the community cleanup, which she already had plans for, right? Or go water skiing with her friends. Okay? The positive outcome in this situation would be to choose the best activity. Let's discuss the possible consequences of each option. Keep in mind that consequences can be positive and negative. Okay? So, let's walk this through with Isabel. Okay, class, so let's help Isabel figure out what the possible negative and positive consequences there are for each of these options. So she has two options, right? Go to the community cleanup, which she already had plans for, or go water skiing, okay? So let's look at some of these options, and here is our decision-making poster. Okay, I didn't show you it before, but stop, think, when we're thinking about the positive outcome, right? We're going to list our options, okay? And I just listed Isabel's options, and then we're going to act. We're going to act out the best decision for us, right? Okay, and then we're going to reflect and see how well we did or what we could do better next time, okay? So I want you guys to tap your head if that makes sense. Okay, hopefully everybody tapped their head. Okay, so what are the possible negative consequences of going to the community cleanup? Think about that. So if she goes to the community cleanup, okay, Isabel is going to be disappointed that she didn't go water skiing, right? Okay, Jackie, her friend, is going to be disappointed that Isabel chose the community cleanup instead of water skiing. Okay, so those are the possible negative consequences. And what step are we doing right now? We are thinking, right? We're going through and thinking about the options and the positive outcomes as well as the negative, right? So what are the possible positive consequences of going to the community cleanup? She honors her first commitment, right? She goes with her first plan. Okay, she's proud that she stuck with her original commitment. She has fun at the community cleanup. Okay, those are all positive outcomes. So what are the possible negative consequences of going water skiing? Okay, Isabel might feel guilty about not going to her first commitment, which was the community cleanup, right? Okay, her friends are disappointed because she didn't choose to go to the community cleanup with them. So those are possible negative consequences if she chose water skiing. So what are some of the possible positive consequences of going water skiing? Well, Isabel's going to have fun, right? She's going to have an awesome time. But her friends might be happy as well, too, right? That she chose to spend time with them as well. So if you were Isabel and if you had to make a decision, what would you decide and why? Because what we're doing right now is we're using this model, okay? This is not a quick decision for Isabel. She can't just snap her fingers and decide. She has to really stop, think, and act, and then reflect, right? She can't just act. Because these two options are both extremely important to her. Okay, so now let's discuss what you would do. Some of you might choose the community cleanup, some of you might choose water skiing. But the important thing is that you use this model to help you decide. Okay? So I have an example here. This is not regarding Isabel, okay? This is just another example on what you would do. As you reach into the cupboard for glass, you accidentally knock your mom's favorite serving bowl onto the counter. The bowl breaks into 3 pieces. You quickly look around and realize that no one saw what happened. The positive outcome for this situation would be to do the right thing, right? So what would you do? Okay, you could tell your mom what happened, right? And that might lead into a positive consequence or possibly a negative. Your mom might be upset, but she might thank you for telling the truth. Okay? Some of you might think to just fix the bowl on your own and not tell your mom, right? So the positive outcome could be you might not get in trouble, but the negative consequence of fixing it and not telling your mom, you might feel guilty, right? So it's important to think about all these different options, different outcomes, whether they're positive or negative, because that will help you in the long run to make the most appropriate and responsible decision. Okay? Or this is another option, you could blame your brother or sister. Now that's probably not the most responsible decision, right? Okay, so that's again why we use this model to help you make decisions. Okay, so now if you have to talk it out with an adult, that is okay. Okay? Some decisions we need help with, right? And that's okay if you talk to a trusted adult to help them. Okay? An adult may have some other options or come up with some consequences you hadn't thought of. So it's okay to ask a trusted adult to help you make more difficult decisions. Okay? That is okay. Okay. So this is another section in your workbook, but if you don't have it, if your class has time today, feel free to watch this short video. Kid President is going to talk about his choices and his decisions as Kid President. And I think it's a great little clip for you guys to watch and to realize that we should not make our decisions quickly. We should give them more thought, especially when they are difficult decisions to make. This video will not play throughout the video, so I have provided the link above, so you can just click on the link and watch that if you have time. All right. Okay, so that wraps up our second lesson on decision making. So remember, it's important to use this model when you are making more difficult decisions, okay? It's important to stop, think, act, and then reflect, right? We don't want to always just act because that's when we can get into some trouble and make some non-responsible decisions, right? So if you have any questions about today's lesson, please feel free to email me at scazaprevention@gmail.com. Have your teacher or somebody help you do that, okay? I'd love to hear from you, and I'd love to get back to you as soon as I can. And I look forward to next week talking about feelings. Have a great day, everybody.